Hello everybody and welcome to Blue Jays Today, where you boys always have something to say about the Toronto Blue Jays. I'm your host, Nicholas Playlog.
And I'm your host, Adam Peddle. And today, guys, we got some Danny Jansen extension updates. Recently, Danny Jansen was talking to Scott Mitchell, and we learned a little bit more about the potential future with the Toronto Blue Jays and Danny Jansen. Before we get into it, guys, make sure to hit that like button, smash that subscribe button, and let's get into it, guys.
Yo.
So you brought this up to me.
Yeah.
You brought this up to me today.
Yes.
Yeah, go ahead. You were going to say something.
So, well, I was just going to say, starting out, man, I've come around on Danny Jansen. You know? It's like, I still remember when we started this whole podcast off, we started everything, and at that time, it was still kind of unclear what he was to the Jays.
Yeah.
You know, we all wanted him to be the big hitting catcher, and at that point, he was still struggling hitting. Holy mother of God, dude, that guy figured something out.
Well, what he figured out, I don't know what exactly. It was like, we all know he's a pull hitter. He's just like, he commits to the pull.
Yeah.
I'm going to pull everything. I'm going to hit it hard. That's what I'm going to focus on. I'm not going to focus on anything else. And that works great for him. He spent a couple off seasons with Bo Bichette and Kevin Biggio, and it worked for him immensely. Just incredibly. His whole game is
1,000%, dude. 1,000%. Now it's like this guy is like slowly, very silently, you know, because again, he's not been in the lineup all the time, you know, due to injury, due to whatever, right? So, but silently, it's like just slowly moving up my personal Blue Jays power rankings, you know, and now it's like, if it comes down to a clutch situation, would I rather have Guerrero or Danny Jansen? The question is real.
Yeah,
like it's a legitimate thing where I'm like, this guy is just so fucking clutch all the time.
I mean, granted, Vlad's runner scoring position stats are very nice, but I hear what you're saying because Danny's are also very nice. They're better than his actual stat line.
And I mean, just when you think about this past season, right, you think about all of the biggest moments for the Toronto Blue Jays. Danny Jansen was a centerpiece in most of them.
Like he had for sure one walk-off against Atlanta. Maybe he could have had a second.
Yeah,
I think he's had more in his career.
He was always coming up with the big hit, with the big knock, and just what he brings to this team, dude, it's phenomenal. So again, I just want to come out, I want to start that off by saying, Danny Jansen, you're phenomenal, and I think we both agree we want this guy on the team, man.
Yeah, it's his final year with the Toronto Blue Jays, and you know it kind of sucks. You know, he was kind of the first Blue Jay core member that we have today to kind of merge into, I think it was 2018 when he made his debut. And you know, I was, again, not thinking too much, but now you've seen him blossom, and you're like, okay, finally we took the time for him to develop.
Yeah.
I'm good to see an extension because you still have a lot of those pitchers that are going to be riding with the Jays into hopefully our next phase of our window, like Kevin Gausman and Berrios, maybe Alek Manoah, right? You still got a little bit of Chris Bassett. So you kind of want that guy to have that relationship with those pitchers moving forward. And you know, in addition with the bat, it's amazing. So I think he's kind of the centerpiece of this team, and extension makes a lot of sense at this time.
1,000%. And I mean, when you only have 1 year left on your deal, when you're doing what he's been capable of doing the past few seasons, one would imagine that an extension in the offseason, that should be something that is being discussed. But apparently, he came out on the I think it's the Scott Mitchell show, or it's a show on Sportsnet featuring Scott Mitchell. We apologize, but I mean, great analysis going on there. But effectively, he came out and he said, we talked about it, we sat down, we discussed it. Both parties agreed to carry on and see what happens throughout this year. I encourage you guys to watch the clip, to, develop your own feelings about it. It felt like he was really monitoring the way that he said it. We watched the clip prior to recording this. It felt like he was really treading carefully. You know, it's like he didn't want to. I understand. You know, he's trying to do the business side of things. But I just don't really understand why the Toronto Blue Jays would not want to entertain these conversations now when you only have 1 year left, and when we know what Danny Jansen is capable of doing. If you let this guy go in and start mashing in April and May, there's no way that he's coming back.
See, I think that they are entertaining it in a way, because he did talk about it, right? Like they're talking about it. They're getting the ball rolling. Maybe the ball's already been rolling. We haven't even known about it at this point, because it's kind of, he's kind of flying in the background of the Toronto Blue Jays. But you're right, like. Yeah, why wouldn't you get it started right now? I mean, like, why wouldn't you try to lock it down? It makes sense. I think they're going to try and keep on working through it. And one of the reasons why I think is kind of holding them back, and I think a lot of fans are agreeing with this, is I think, and even Danny Jansen brought this up in that Scott Mitchell interview, is the injuries. You know, Danny Jansen hinted that like, well, you know, I haven't been healthy in the last few years. And I think that's coming into the contract negotiations. I think Danny Jansen, when healthy, is one of the best catchers in baseball.
Yeah, sure.
You know, one of the probably top 6, right? When healthy, right? Offensively and defensively. But when without the health, he's not being really seen in that light.
No,
so
I do hear
I think Danny and his team sees him in that light, but not the Toronto Blue Jays and trying to use that towards advantage.
It's kind of a shit situation because it's one of those things where you're talking with Danny Jansen, and that is obviously a factor, and it has to play into the negotiations. So the Toronto Blue Jays are saying, well, we can't pay you all this money because we don't know if you're going to be on the field or not. And Danny's saying, well, I'm going to be on the field. You know, I want to be on the field, right? So he doesn't want to take any offer like that. But then you're walking yourself into the situation where he is going to come into the season, and if he does mash, how are you going to get this guy back, right? I mean, like if he's starting to mash, I don't know what the catching situation is like in free agency next year, but if Danny Jansen puts up the slugging numbers that he has put up in seasons prior, and this is what always gets me, right? You look at the slugging numbers, you look at the hard hit percentage and everything like that, right? And you got like the Bryce Harpers up there, the Aaron Judges, everything like that, and Danny Jansen, right? It's always up there, and it blows my mind, right? But he's just such a powerful, hard hitting catcher, and that's not something that you can get, right? So any team in their right mind would be absolutely lucky to throw tons of millions of dollars at this guy if he does come into next season being healthy and doing what he's done in seasons prior.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, look, you can kind of see it right here. He doesn't have it at all. It's not really qualified because has been injured for so much, but you can still see it's
his
red.
His expected slugging is 5'11".
Yeah.
Like, that's stupid.
It's nuts. It's nuts,
that is
man.
stupid, dude. So, I mean, Danny Jansen, we obviously want him back on the squad. The one thing that people are talking about with this kind of rumor and everything like that is the fact that the Jays maybe are trying to guard the possibility. We have it literally right here.
Right here.
By Fifth Element right here. Shout out to Fifth Element saying, I think they are guarding the possibility of a rebuild next year.
Whoa, time for your daily Betway breather. A quick reminder that the best place to bet is on Betway. Must be 19 years of age or older to play. In collaboration with iGaming Ontario, please bet responsibly. Now, back to the content.
What are your thoughts on the Toronto Blue Jays thinking to themselves, okay, we've had a good team the past few seasons. It hasn't worked. So rather than lock this dude in right now and spend all this money on these guys, maybe we want to wait and see. And if we're good, then we'll pay the money. And if we're bad, maybe we blow it up.
See, I'm going to have to disagree. Because you've already had Mark Shapiro come out and talk about we want to extend the window of winning. You have Kevin Gausman for 3 more years. You got Chris Bassett for 2 more years. You got Jose Barrios for, I think it's 6 or 5 more years. You still got a lot in Alek Manoah. If you get anything like Cy Young Alek Manoah again, you got him for 4 more years, right? So that pitching staff is set up for winning, right? In the offense, it's just a quick let's sign some big bats and let's slug again. Let's get our guys back. So I hear what he's saying because you do have the Bo ending, the Vlad ending, the Jansen ending. But I think if you want to extend that window of winning, the best thing you could do is to sign Danny Jansen.
So what do you do then if they come in and they're bad next year? What do you do, right? If we do it again, if the Toronto Blue Jays come in, it's a mediocre season. God forbid they miss playoffs, but okay, if they miss playoffs or if they make playoffs and get swept again, what do you do? How do you address the problems here? Is it a blow-up situation at that point?
My emotions, and this is being a Leafs fan, you can very feel that you want to trade everybody, get rid of everybody, but you got to ride it in 1 more year. You got to roll the dice again, right? Because you still have Bo and Vlad for 1 more year. You still got the majority of your pitching staff, and here's the thing: you don't have Danny Jansen.
Yes.
That is the big change. Is Alejandro Kirk going to take over? Well, he was a Gold Glove finalist, and you got to hope that bat bounces back. You know what I mean? So they could be. I think if they're going to guard against anything, it's a possibility that maybe Kirk's the man. You know, there's a lot of issues. Obviously, you know, is the conditioning right? Is that back going to come back? Because the glove's there. The glove emerged last year. Is everything else going to come back? You know, just like pitchers, batters can be volatile too. So can we see that happen? So I think it's, you know, if they do bad next year, I think they're going to roll the dice again.
Well, and also to push back on the people that are talking about potentially guarding the opportunity to blow it all up, right? I hear what you're saying, and I do think that there is there's definitely been a train of thought from Ross Atkins and Mark Shapiro about that. I'm sure that that's crossed their minds. However, we also got to factor in, on top of everything going on with Danny Jansen, they're apparently looking to add big this free agency, right? With spend a bunch of money. That is not guarding any possibility of a blow up right there. That's saying we want to win right now. I think if there is ever going to be a blow up for the Toronto Blue Jays, like literally tear it all down and rebuild, it's not going to be after this season. It would be after next season.
Exactly.
When you have Bo and when you have Vlad coming up, and that's where you make the decision. Maybe even in that season, do we trade Vlad? Do we trade Bo? Do we not extend them? Do we get rid of all the other guys? Like, that is when it's going to happen. I think for this coming season in 2024, Toronto Blue Jays will remain all in, and Danny Jansen hopefully will be part of that.
Hopefully. And just to add on that one more note of just like, are we going to blow it up? When are we going to blow it up? Are we going to stay competitive? I think if offense sucks for the next 2 seasons with Bo and Vlad, but the pitching remains really great, top 5, you continue to try and find ways to win offensively. You don't blow it up. But if the pitching starts regressing, Kevin Gausman regresses, you have Bassett leaving the books right in 2 years, Kikuchi's gone, Manoah sucks still, then you blow it up.
It is very situational, but I do want Danny Jansen to be part of that situation. Folks, let us know your thoughts about this in the comments down below. What would you sign Danny Jansen to right now? Do you think it is the right idea to let it walk into the season, see how he plays, and then extend him, or is that a little bit too late? Let us know in the comments.
Yeah, and guys, $3 a month, become a Patreon member. Shout out and thank you to all of our current Patreon members and to our YouTube members. You guys are absolutely phenomenal.
Thank you so much for watching,
and go Jays go!